the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello everybody, welcome to the latest edition of Goodison Park, my home. And as I'm sure you can already see, we've got a very special guest with us today in the studio. It's Anders Limpar, and I can tell you Anders is on form today. How are you, Anders?
I'm fine. I'm on fire.
Yeah.
When I love to talk about Everton and everything around Everton.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting one because obviously Anders came in an era where there weren't a lot of overseas players in the Premier League back then, but his association with Everton actually goes back much longer than he even is playing at the club, because I believe you were a Boyhood Blue, Anders.
Yeah, I was. I told people this story many times. You know, when I started to look at Everton, it was around 74, 75, when I was 9-10 years old, and I was I started to look at football properly.
Yeah.
And the World Cup 74 was my first World Cup. And then I started to look at the English league, and I fell in love with Bob Blatchford, who played it from, I think it's from early 74 to 80 something.
Yeah.
81. So I fell in love with him. And my father, he was from Hungary. He passed away 5 years ago. He said, look at Imre Varadi. He's a good player.
Yeah.
So I watched him for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And him pairing up, with Bob, that was a pleasure. So I became a toffee quite early age, around 9-10 years old.
Interesting. Actually, obviously, you didn't base your game around Bob Blatchford, did you?
Yeah. But what a player! What a prospect for what an ambassador for the team. Bob Blatchford. Yeah. I have had the pleasure to meet him when he was a coach for Birmingham.
Yeah.
So that was a highlight in my year, in my career.
Yeah. So it was an interesting one. We'll come on to obviously when you join Everton, but before then, obviously, varied career for you, young boys in Switzerland, and then Cremonese before you even came to England. So you'd experienced the game across Europe from a young age. Yeah,
I've been fortunate to play in the championship in Sweden when I was 15.
Right.
You could do that. You could have done that in back in the days, but I don't think a 15-year-old boy go through the ranks nowadays.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then I played in the championship for 6 years, 6 years, and then I played in the Premier League in Sweden for a team called Örgryte, down in Gothenburg.
Okay.
And our manager was Agne Simonsson. He is one of the top player ever. He played for AC Milan, and he got a World Cup silver medal, World Cup 58.
Yeah.
And he sent me around Europe in December for me to feel the football in Europe. So I was 1 month with AC Milan,
right,
just to practice with the guys, and I was like 17. And I went to Como. I went to Eintracht Frankfurt, and so I've been practice with these unbelievable players and unbelievable teams early doors.
Yeah.
So when I played in Sweden, I made my debut for under 21 as well.
Yeah.
So I know the whole situation. I know the style of play in Europe before I went professional, because we were amateurs in Sweden back then.
Okay.
So my first year, 1988, I signed for Young Boys in Bern in Switzerland. It was easy for me as a young boy, because I've been to AC Milan, I've been to Eintracht Frankfurt, I saw the professionalism in Germany, in Italy, and so on. So, and I played a few international games for Sweden under 21. So I had a lot of experience already before my first professional years.
Yeah.
And I had a great year at Young Boys.
Yeah.
And that's the best prospect to play, for a young boy to play in Switzerland. But that's because it's center of Europe.
Okay.
All the big league sporting talents playing in Switzerland. Italy, France, Germany, Spain.
Yeah.
So I actually, an Italian side called Cremonese wanted me to play for them back in the late 80s. And back in the late 80s, all the best players in the whole world were playing in Italy. And I'm a little kid from Solna outside Stockholm, over the moon.
Yeah, yeah. So how did the move to England first come about anyway? But did George Graham, because with all the greatest respects, you don't seem like a typical George Graham player.
No, from what I've heard, we had a talent scout called Steve Burtonshaw. I'm not sure if he's around. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he was the second man to George Graham, Steve Burtonshaw, and he was the talent scout. And George Graham told Steve that he wanted to have a quick winger who crosses the ball. Yeah. So he looked at me at Young Boys. He looked at me at Cremonese and went back to Graham and said, I have a guy for you. Yeah. And for the season 1990, Arsenal signed 3 players. He needed a goalkeeper. That he bought Seaman from Norwich, David Seaman, the big guy. Yeah. And we bought Andy Linegan, this big centre half from Norwich, and he bought me from Cremonese. That was his dream team. Yeah. And with that dream team, we won 6 trophies in 4 years. We were quite unbeatable. Yeah. I'm not sure. I heard that we lost 10, 15 games in 4 years or whatever. Right. So, but he was in that position, Mr. Graham, so he could pick whatever he wanted, you know. So he picked a winger, a goalkeeper, and a centre-half. Yeah.
And we were speaking before we went on there while you were at Arsenal, Kevin Campbell, who went on to be a huge fan favourite at Everton, was one of your teammates. Just your thoughts, reflections on Kevin, the man and the player?
Yeah, I always feel sorry when I talk about... I get tears in my eyes when I talk about Kevin, because he was the first player who showed me around London. He was the first player who invited me and my wife for dinner.
Really? Yeah.
He was the first player who took care of me. Yeah. So I had a special relationship with Kevin off the pitch and especially on the pitch. He was so easy to play with. And this news who I received knocked me down. So I went to the funeral a couple of months ago, and that was a sad time. Yeah. But it was a good memorial. So they highlighted Kevin's whole career, and I mean, you get a little bit more excited then.
Yeah, yeah. And when the time came to move to Everton, obviously Everton was struggling at the time, but as we've said already, with you being a Boyhood Blue, in many ways it was a dream move for you. Was it an easy decision to make at the time?
The story goes like this. I got released, believe it or not, from Arsenal after 6 titles in 4 years. I got released because Mr. Graham, I have to call him Mr. Graham, he said to me, I can't guarantee you a place in the side anymore. Yeah. And I thought, come on, I've been a regular for 4 years. What's the problem? And he said, I have a good offer from Manchester City. Right. And I almost said, like, Manchester, where is that? As a joke. Yeah. Okay, me and my agent went up to in a car up to Manchester. Mm-hmm. Halfway through, Kenny Dalglish phoned my agent, and he said, Anders, I've heard that Anders got released from Arsenal. He was the manager of Blackburn at the time. Yeah. I would like to talk to him. Just before that call, Mike Walker phoned my agent. Okay. I've heard that Arsenal have released Anders. I would love to talk to him. And I go, hey, we go to Everton. We'll go to Everton and speak to them. So we said no to Kenny Dalglish and Blackburn. Yeah. We went out to Manchester, talked to them, and we went to Belfield to have a chat with Mike Walker. It was a better deal, better money. Everything was better at Manchester at that time. And I picked Everton because that's my boyhood dream. Yeah. And Mike Walker persuaded me to sign for Everton because he had big dreams. Yeah. The style of playing I thought this will suit me. Mm-hmm. So that's the true story. I signed for Everton on the D-Day in March 94.
Yeah, I mean, I remember obviously maybe our younger viewers not going to be aware of that. The late deadline as it was then, it would go through to March.
Yeah.
And you and Joe Parkinson signed on the same day.
Exactly.
I mean, poor Joe, I don't think he was getting many questions, but you all both obviously went on to do great things. Everton, but as you say, you were going into a relegation battle. But at that time in March, I mean, Everton had been struggling.
Oh, yeah.
But I imagine you didn't honestly think that it'd be going down to the last day of the season to survive.
For a big club like Everton, you should never be. We always say we should never be in the relegation zone, but I have been there. I mean, everybody talking about the famous escape when we escaped the game against Wimbledon, 2-0 down. You needed to win, and we won 3-2. 2 seasons ago, when we were down half time, and Decorea scored 1-1, and we stayed up. Last season with the points deduction. I mean, I've been at Everton playing. When we were poor. Yeah. And at the moment we're going through. We all have to be honest here. We're going through a poor state of the club's history just now. And I talked about this so many times. We have great players. We have a great manager. But for some reason, it doesn't click what we wanted at the moment. I can't criticize the team because I'm not at Finch Farm every day. I should be there Monday to Sunday to see what's going on. Yeah. So for me to look at Everton from an old player's point of view, we all want Everton to be great, to do good things. But it's the easiest thing for an old player is to criticize the old team. Everybody does that, from the big Man United to Liverpool. That's the easiest thing. But if you look at it from a professional point of view, it's something wrong in the dressing room. If you can't play better football with these players, they are unreal good. But we for some reason doesn't get the result that we want. And that hurts everybody, and it hurts me as a supporter. And I can't tell you what's wrong because I'm not a good manager, and I can't see the team on a daily basis. Yeah.
And going back to '94, you mentioned that game, obviously the final game of the season. Wimbledon, see for yourself, it was mixed emotions. I mean, see, giving away the penalty and then winning the penalty at the other end. Just what are your recollections of that day? I mean, were you all nervous? How did you all feel going into that game?
Before the game, we were excited. We were strong playing at Goodison. We were a strong team, even at the Mike Walker's area early stage. But we were struggling as a team. But at Goodison, we were always positive. So we're going in with positive vibes. You know, to play against Wimbledon, you should win that game. Easy to say. But after 20 minutes, Gary Ablett, bless him in heaven, he scored an own goal, and I was down in the penalty box for the first time in my life defending. I misjudged a header, took it with my hand, and you could feel the stress. You could feel the emotions from the stands. They wanted to go on the pitch and absolutely strangle us, you know, because this means so much up here. Okay, we turned it around. We got a penalty. Graham Stewart scored that one. And what I remember from that game, no one sat down halftime. Normally you sit down and listen to your manager, but everybody were up jumping, you know, and banging the walls. So we were ready to go. We didn't want that first half to end. We went out with an unbelievable passion, and I can't really remember how we played in the second half. We were fighting like mad dogs, and obviously Barry Horn scored a screamer, one of the best goals I've seen at Goodison. Top corner bang, 30 yards out. And then obviously Graham scored a 3-2. And the relief from that hate, you could see the hate and the passion an hour earlier. And then the relief in the fans' eyes when we won, it's just heaven and hell. You know? Because I know that what it means. I'm in the stands now. Watching Everton play. And the passion you have up here, Newcastle, Sunderland, Manchester, Liverpool area. It's so much. It's hard for me to say because I played for Everton, but as a spectator, the passion is a little bit better, harder, more passion than South.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I can't.
The game's heartland where it all started.
I can't put a finger on it, but the passion among the fans, the people, is more hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm sorry to say that in front of the Arsenal fans or whatever down there. The passion is a little bit more passion up north.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember I was in the Bullens Road myself that day, 14 years old, watching that game. Incredible scenes. And people must remember, going again about the younger viewers, because we're used to the instant communications now and the world of the internet. You went off that pitch at the end. You didn't even know whether you were actually safe at that moment in time. You'd done your job, but you didn't know.
We didn't know because the results wasn't ended. But we done our job, and we knew that we had a pretty good chance to stay up. We needed to win the game, and we did. It was a hell of a game.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this earlier, you and I, when 2 seasons ago, when half-time we were relegated, and Decore scored 1-1.
Yeah.
And we stayed up.
Yeah.
So I can imagine the old players back then slagged us off.
Yeah.
Which we
should never have happened. Yeah.
You know, it's the way it goes. But as I told you, the easiest way for an old player is to criticize the player who play now.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And then going into that summer, a change of pace for you for the World Cup in the USA. I was checking you didn't actually get to play until the third place playoff came on.
No.
I was checking. It was the day before the final, and there was over 90,000 people in the Pasadena Rose Bowl for your third place playoff against Bulgaria. What are your memories of that tournament? Because it was a great time for Sweden.
Yeah, we had an unbelievable team. It goes back to 90. We were qualified for European Championship because we were hosts.
Mm-hmm.
The championship played in Sweden, so we didn't have any qualifying games.
Yeah. So
we took a bronze medal. We came third in the Europe Championship 92 with the same team. We slaughtered the qualification, went into the World Cup 94, and with that team, you know, we had 7 captains out in big teams in Europe, and only one captain after be captain was Roland Nilsson, who played for Sheffield Wednesday, among other teams. And we had Thomas Brolin, Kenneth Andersson, and Jonas Törn, Ravelli. We had a dream team.
Yeah.
So 7-8 minutes away from the final whistle, Romario scored 1-0, Sweden-Brazil in the semi-final.
Yeah.
I can assure you, if it had went to penalty, we had the best goalkeeper in the world. We would have gone through to the final. But after that game, we sat down in the dressing room, and Thomas Brolin said, "We're winners. We won't, we won't leave USA without a medal." So we went out and absolutely hammered Bulgaria 4-0. 4-0 half time. Could have been 10-0.
Yeah.
Because of Thomas Brolin's speech, much similar to Waggy's Dave Watson's speech half-time against Wimbledon.
Right.
We didn't sit down. We were absolutely wanted to win these games. The same thing happened in USA, in Pasadena.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about one of that team, actually, Stefan Wren. He was Everton's first ever player from outside the British Isles.
Yes.
And obviously, by the time you were coming, just a few short years later, I mean, things had moved on and players like yourself able to have big successes. He was a very established international for Sweden, but just didn't happen for him at Everton at all. He really struggled hard, played a clutch of matches, and then he was back on his way.
Yeah, the things when we're talking about great players, I met a great player last night, Tony Grant.
Yeah.
And he couldn't play because we had Barry Horn, John Abrell, Joe Parkinson, who were fitting as a glove for that kind of play back in the days. And then you have Stefan Wren. And you had Stefan Schwartz and Jonas Törn in front of you. It's impossible. We talked earlier about if you're a young guy, if you're a forward playing for Manchester City, do you think you will play a game in front of Holland? So some players are in the different era where you can't play because you have greater players in front of you. And Stefan I played a couple of international games with him, and he could never ever take a place in the Swedish side in front of Stefan Schwarz and Jonas Stad. That was impossible.
Yeah.
So I feel sorry for Stefan, because he was a hell of one of the best receiving and passing player we have ever had in the history. But unfortunately, we had two unbelievable players in front of him.
Yeah. And then that season back, going into pre-season with Everton, I mean, it's quite an infamous one. They actually went to your native Sweden, didn't they, on the Mike Walker? He's the manager who brought you to the club, but I think it's safe to say, that a lot of the senior players didn't seem to take to his methods, and that was a difficult time. There was the infamous story of Neville Southall coming out naked for a pre-match warm-up on that tour, stuff like that. So obviously things weren't going well in the camp. Do you remember, were you actually back with the squad at that point? I'm trying to think, with your World Cup, would you have been involved in all of that?
Yeah, and I mean, if we talk about Mike Walker, he lost. I mean, the worst thing for a manager is when you lose your dressing room.
Yeah.
He lost the dressing room with our star players because we never get the feedback from him. I always say this, we went to Blackburn and we lost 5-0. Yeah. And you couldn't see our manager, Mike Walker, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after that game. And we thought, with a manager, you win with the team and you lose with the team. So he lost the dressing room quite quick. And then for Everton's history, Joe Royle and Willie Donaghy came, which are my gods, and changed the whole thing. So pretty much with the same team, we won the FA Cup, we won the Charity Shield, we came 6th in the Premier League, with just a little bit of knowledge and taking care of the star players we had.
Mm-hmm. What was that like then when Joe came in? Because, as you said, had been really struggling under Mike Walker. He'd done very well at Norwich City, but under Everton, maybe the more intensive atmosphere just hadn't worked for him. I guess at least that was one thing with Joe Royle. He knew Everton. Yeah,
he knew Everton, but that's the same story with a great manager like Unai Emery.
Mm-hmm.
He was terrible at Arsenal. He's wonderful at Aston Villa. It's suddenly it happens for a manager. It clicks with players and different environment and stuff like that. So Joe Royle, he was an inspirational for me, because I sat down with him for an hour, and he asked me, "What do you do at Arsenal? What do you expect me to do for you?" And he told me what he was expecting of me.
Yeah.
And I've never heard that. I had George Graham at Arsenal who slagged everybody off.
Right.
You were shit scared and shit nervous around him. So we were still a great team, though. But with Joe, everybody felt comfortable.
Yeah.
He was number 9 playing for Everton. He knew the club. And he was a hell of a psychologist, He knew that he wanted to kick Barry Horn and Joe Parkinson's butt. I was a player who needed a hug.
Okay.
If I got a hug from the manager, I was unstoppable. So that's different psychology, and he knew what to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, I told this story a couple of times when Willie came to Belfield and suddenly changed and swapped the mentality of training. All of us, I can assure you, all of us thought it was fun again.
Yeah.
I was 30 years old, and it was fun to play football again.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for the next day. I couldn't wait to see what Willie taught us.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I've been a manager for like 10 years, and everything I say and everything I take and practice with my kids, my boys, I took from Willie Donaghy, 100%.
Yeah. What would Willie Donaghy do then? What was it in training?
Just the possession play of it, different kind of setups in possession, encourage. You shouldn't be scared. You should always want the ball and receive the ball. And if you can't do it here, how the hell are you going to do it at Goodison when 40,000 people watching? How the hell are you going to go to Old Trafford? Mm. How can you play at Anfield? So he encouraged us to be positive.
Yeah.
And he made all of us better players, Willie Donaghy.
Yeah.
And obviously like a priest, Joe Royle was preaching, and his knowledge of the game, they clicked. We clicked with him.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best managers I have had in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
both of them. Yeah.
they obviously all talk about Joe and his dogs of war, but he said about you, he's described you as the most talented footballer he's ever worked with, and a football genius. So it shows you how highly he rates you.
I went to an event. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or a couple of days before that. When I hear that, I said to this to the crowd, I'm blushing now. I don't want to be red. Believe me, in my face, I'm a blue.
Yeah.
So that was like a kind of a joke. But me and Joe, we had a special relationship. I loved him, and he liked my style of play. So we clicked.
Yeah, and that FA Cup run, I mean, that included your first Goodison goal as well, Norwich City, the 5-0 win.
I'm not a famous goal scorer, if you can say. I've probably scored 35 goals in Cups and Premier League altogether, but I probably done 100 assists. That was my kind of play, provided Alan Smith, Kevin Campbell, Ian Wright, Duncan Ferguson, Amo Catchy, whatever, Graham, Rideout. That was my kind of play, I had more enjoyable inside my body when I made a good cross and Paul Ryder scored. That was more satisfaction for me than score a goal.
Right,
But I knocked a few in.
Yeah. Well, I just remember that was a good one on that day. And see, the semi-final, Tottenham Hotspur was one of the ones that people remember from that time. Just incredible. Obviously, it was Elland Road, and the fans are split. But because I think the way it was, Tottenham had the main stand, but then on the other three sides was all the Evertonians. And was that like a big sort of factor in terms of you think how that day went? Because it ended up pretty emphatic.
And yet again, I can show you all of back in the days, we loved to play in front of the Everton supporters. Yeah. Because they backed us up. And on that day, mighty Jürgen Klinsmann signed from Inter Milan too. And we thought, we had no chance. They were on a good spell, and we were on a bad spell, in the league and everything. But a good run in the FA Cup. And I always pick two games in my Everton career. That's the semi-final against Spurs. We absolutely hammered them. They had no chance. We won 4-1. And a good win at Anfield when Andrei Kanchelskis scored twice. We absolutely slaughtered Liverpool on that day. Yeah. We won 2-0. That's the two highlights of my career at Everton. And I know that we had so many local guys, like, let's say, Dave Watson. Yeah. He always told us he absolutely have to give 100% in front of the Goodison spectators and fans. And I thought to myself, I played at Highbury. Come on, they are passion down there. But when they see when he said, you wait when you play up north. So you watch. It's something different. Yeah. A little bit different when it comes to passion.
Yeah. We'll come on to that win at Anfield, definitely. But obviously got the FA Cup final. It's come before that. I mean, it was another game in which you played a huge part in that goal in terms of your run. Did you get it off Paul Ince to start with? I'm trying to think about that.
Let me see. I know that I can't remember who I got the ball from. It was like a tricky situation in mid. We were counter-attack. Yeah. And we were good at counter-attack. We had lightning players. And then we went up, bang, boom, bang, hit the bar, and then Paul Ryder scored. Yeah. And I can assure you, before the game, we were 16 players out in the dressing room. 3 coaching stuff, Joe Royle, Willie Donaghy, and Les Helm,
the physio,
the physio, Kitman, who believed we were going to win that game. Yeah. I think the rest of the world thought absolutely Man United going to hammer us because of our run and form in the league, because we weren't the best team. But when it came to the FA Cup run, we were unstoppable for some reason. Yeah. And we had a little bit of luck as well going through the games. Yeah. I remember a game against Bristol City when we played our shitty game, It was raining and bad pitch, and Matt Jackson scored a releasing goal, we won 1-0, and we thought we have a good chance. We played poorly in the league, but we were unstoppable in the FA Cup. That's a strange feeling.
Yeah, it must have been obviously you won all that stuff at Arsenal, but as somebody as a lifelong Evertonian and for the fans as well, to be part of that, a trophy win inside at Wembley. And I guess at the time we didn't think it was going to be this long before it ever happened again.
No.
A magical memory for you.
Yeah, we talk about that when I meet Joe Parkinson or whatever, Barry Hohen, or even if it's Tony Grant. We want Everton to talk about new players now.
Yeah.
You can't say that you're sick of talking about 30 years ago, but we want a new success.
Yeah.
I know that we've been to 2 finals. We lost 2 FA Cup finals. I can't see Everton win the Premier League in about 4 or 5 years, but we can have a good cup run, to win the FA Cup 2025 or 26, whatever. So the spectators, the fans can talk about something else.
Yeah.
It's always... Don't take me wrong, it's always nice to be remembered. But we say the same thing in Sweden when we took the bronze medal in 94. We haven't had any success since 94. No. We want someone to take the silver or even bronze medal so they can talk about new heroes.
Yeah.
That's what I want us to do at Everton. Talk about new heroes.
And that following season, you've mentioned already the win at Anfield, though. But I mean, it's actually the first time, I think, in the first decade of the Premier League, it was the only top halves finish Everton had. You went on to finish 6th that season, and a big part of that was, as you mentioned, bringing in Andrei Kanchelskis. So you had you on one side and him on the other. I mean, that's quite the combination.
That was lightning. I can tell you, if I was quick, I didn't have any chance against Andrei.
Yeah,
he had 2 good feet. He scored 16 goals, setting up. He won everything at Man United 5 years before that, But I was rooming with him. You know?
Okay.
And it was so funny. He was talking to his wife in Russian 2-3 hours every night. I pretty much can speak better Russian than English. But he was a funny character. Honestly, he was a good man, a sweet man, and a hell of a football player. And he did great for Everton.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that game at Anfield as well. I mean, do you think that obviously there was a different sort of mentality when it came to playing Liverpool in that respect? Because that seems to be a bit of a mental block in recent years for Everton.
Yeah, but in the recent years, I've been to Anfield when we got knocked a couple of years ago 5-2.
Yeah,
that wasn't fun. I've been there when they won 2-0. But for some reason, we play good against Liverpool at Goodison.
Yeah.
But I remember when we had a chat about at Belfield when we said we're going to play Liverpool on Saturday, and Andrei goes, Liverpool? That's nothing, because he played for Man United those days, who they beat Liverpool every time. So for him, it was nothing. Yeah. For an Evertonian like David Watson, we're going to play against Liverpool at Anfield. Come on, it's going to be a hard game. But for him, it was, we only going to play against Liverpool at Anfield. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So he wasn't scared. We were shitting ourselves, Anfield at those days. But we had a great game.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of what Everton did then seems to be about that camaraderie and the team spirit. What was it like playing with those type of players at Everton?
For me, as a skillful, quick winger who couldn't tackle, I couldn't defend, to have players like Barry Horn and Joe Royle, Mickey Thomas, Paul Davis, and Joe Parkey. That's the dream.
Yeah,
that's the dream to play with. If they do their job, it's hard tackling, good players, and provide us to the wings. It's easy to play then,
Yeah.
I played as a centre half in Italy with number 10, and that's different. You never tackle. And my first, when I talked to George Graham, first time, and he wanted to sign me, and he said, I'm going to play as a winger. And I told Graham before I signed, I know I'm number 10. I'm going to play in the middle. And he goes straight away, Anders, you can't tackle.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I can't tackle. No, in England you have to play on the wing then.
Yeah.
It was simple as that, because it was much tougher back in the days. And to have players like the Dogs of War, Parkey and Barry and John, it was a dream for Andrei and me. It was a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You talk about the players in the different eras, though. Do you think you would have actually enjoyed it even more if you're playing out? Would actually have been better suited for you now, the Premier League?
No, it would have suited me much more because I was also a player who was really, really good passing and receiving the ball, had good touch, had good vision. So the style of play would have suited me much more now. I can see myself like a Doku, Phil Foden kind of type of player, Saka or Martinelli, whatever, who always attack, always attack, and they don't have to defend.
Yeah.
And I had to do a little bit of defending because it was different kind of football, because it was much quicker. You know, we were launching the ball back in the 90s from the fullbacks up to the forwards.
Yeah.
You hardly don't see that among the top teams anymore. They play from the back four up through midfield and out to the wingers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been suited to be a little bit more. I probably would have scored more goals.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I would have done more assists, because you hardly see Phil Foden or Doku or Grealish crosses the ball. It's very rare. No. You hardly see Saka. He go for goal and score. So it's a different game.
Yeah. When it was time for you to leave Everton and go to Birmingham City, I mean, was that tough, or how did that feel at the time?
The thing was, I told the board or Joel that I wanted to leave at my end of my contract to go back to Sweden, because Jesper, my son, he was 7 years old.
Okay.
I've been abroad for 10, 15 years, whatever. So we wanted to go back to Sweden and put him in school. And I think the board or Joe didn't like that, because I had a 3 years offer on the table.
Yeah.
You know, to sign.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm going to go back to Sweden because we're going to put Jesper in school. And that's one of the things I really, really regret.
Yeah.
I could have played up to year 2000 with Everton.
Yeah.
But the sickness, the homesickness. Homesickness and was very strong.
Right. So
me and Madeline, we said, we have had 15 good years now. Come on, let's go back home and put the kids in school. So Josephine, my daughter, she's born here in Liverpool Women Hospital.
Right.
So
she's a Scouser.
Yeah, she's a Scouser. Speak a bit Scouser, just to speak with a London accent. But we wanted to go home, and then on that time, I think Joe wanted to play other players, because he knew that in 2 months' time I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, I would like to play, so can't you just, lend me out?
Send you out on loan, yeah.
Yeah, go on loan, yeah. So he said, yeah, if you want that, yeah. So where can I go? So Birmingham came in. That's the worst decision I've done in my life. I played 3 games over there. It was awful. Sorry to say, but I didn't like it at all. You know, I should have stayed and signed the 3 years contract with Everton. That's one of the things I regret.
Yeah. And as we come into the end now for Goodison Park, I mean, just what will you miss the most about it as a football venue? Because, you know, it is very, whether you're an Evertonian or not, it's a very iconic football venue.
Yeah, the atmosphere. And I love to play at stadiums, arena who are tight.
Yeah.
Highbury were small and tiny, and we were 2-0 up before the game was even started. You know, same at Goodison. You know, we were so good pressing down, the pressing side of the play was you were good. So I personally loved to play in front of passion fan who they have good knowledge about football here up there. You know, they're not like stupid hooligans. You know, they see when you pass wrong. They see when you have a good pass. They especially see when you work for the club. And I mean, hard tackling and put the effort in.
Yeah,
you could have a bad game, but when you give 100%, they what do you say? They forgive you.
Yeah.
They forgive you. Down south, they that's a little bit different. You know, you have to be a really great player.
Yeah.
But up here, if they see you have the passion and do everything for the badge, you get away with things.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of. It's up to me then if I'm great. If I wanted to do good things, because I know they're going to see it.
Yeah.
So we were much better as a team at Arsenal, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't have to defend that much.
No.
You know? But here I had to defend a little bit. So I did much, much harder work for Everton than I did for Arsenal, because we were, back in the days, like Manchester City are now. So, I mean, they're way better than most of the team, and we were way better than most of the teams. But when I played for Everton, I had to defend, which is not my strongest side, believe me. But I had to do it, because of they see that I put the effort in. So I put one together and say, if I work hard here, I can get away with things. And I did. I had poor games, for sure, but for some reason they let me off.
And then
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And finally, just obviously the new stadium, it's those fans who make the stadium anyway, and at least with this new stadium. I mean, the Emirates, where Arsenal have gone, a terrific stadium, but it's big and open. This new Everton stadium is going to be a tight, intimate venue, like you say, that the likes of yourself as a player love to play in.
It's hard to beat the atmosphere at Highbury. Close and very hostile environment for the away teams. Back in the days when it's so funny, when all the Arsenal players say, who are going to play Saturday? We play Everton away, and everybody goes, fucking hell, it's going to hurt. Oh, we go to Goodison. Oh no, off. They're going to break our legs up.
Yeah.
Everybody hates to go up north to play because of the style of the play.
Yeah.
I want that feeling to come back to Goodison. It's going to be hard to get to Goodison. Nowadays, you can see Bournemouth win or Ipswich or whatever, but it's different time. So when it comes to atmosphere, I would love to have the passion going through to Bromley Moor Dock. I do hope that, because that's going to help us.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you so much, Anders Limpar.
I have to breathe now because I'm talking for an hour. But I love to talk about Everton. I'm passionate.
Thank you.
The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.